Welcome back to He's a Giant, a pod about all things college football and all things Giants football. I am your host, Sal, with my co-host Monty. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Back another week of scouting these guys and another Giants loss, but feels a little different than last week's loss. So we'll get into that today a little bit.
For those of you in the chat, thank you for being here. We are right on time, as promised, exactly at 9:30 p.m.
Yep.
Forget about what your cameras tell you. Forget about what your phones tell you. The show starts when we show up, but thank you for being here. Before we get into everything, we should do this in the beginning. Remember to please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and share the link to the show on Twitter, TikTok, whatever you guys use. So let's get this party rolling. Today's episode is going to be about linebackers, which I think is very well timed, Monty, considering the crap that we're watching. So, so we're going to bring you off-ball linebackers. It's an intriguing group. We're going to get into it, but before we do, let's talk about the Giants. Week 2, after that miserable showing week 1, they come out and they are slinging it. Offense goes crazy. We haven't seen an offensive game like that in I don't know how many years, since Eli probably put
Since
up
like the
37.
Saints game, it feels
I
like
know.
the Giants
We,
Saints game.
we don't have to go through all of it. You guys are all aware of what happened. 37 points, a touchdown to Malik Nabers with 25 seconds left to go, and then the defense just crumbles, goes to overtime, and that's that. Your initial thoughts, or your thoughts?
Yeah, it was the most fun I've had watching a Giants game in a very, 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 very long time. At least since 2022 playoff win, probably. And it really, really fucking sucked for us not to be celebrating at the end of that game because we should have been celebrating. I had a gut feeling on Sunday morning the Giants were going to win that game. And I felt confident that entire game we were going to win that game. Even when the typical Giants bullshit was happening, I'm like, we're going to win this game. And I was right almost every step of the way. And then we let Brandon Aubrey get in range for a 64-yard field goal. And the second they were in range for that field goal, I knew we were losing that football game. That was the first time in the entire game I knew we were losing that football game. I fucking sucked to lose that game, man, but I did have a great time watching it. And I'll say that is the best quarterback play I've seen from a New York Giant quarterback since probably since Eli Manning versus the Saints, like that level. Like Russell Wilson was fucking good this last Sunday. And for all the shit we gave him, deservingly so, after the first week, he deserves his flowers tenfold because he was absolutely incredible on Sunday and he deserved to win that game. We deserved to win that game. We can go into why we lost that game. There's some obvious reasons for it, but we should have won that football game. What about you?
7 explosive pass plays from Russell Wilson in one game. 37 points. 2 receivers with 300 yards and 4 touchdowns between them, right? I mean, that's 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 3 touchdowns between them. Yeah. I mean, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns between 2 receivers, spraying the ball around the field despite that to other people too, putting up what do you put up 430 yards passing?
450.
I mean,
and he had over 200 yards of just 20 plus yard passes.
Right. I'm not going to discuss the overtime. It was bad, but he shouldn't have been in overtime. Right. Well, Russell Wilson had a master class.
And Nabers took responsibility. I do think he was just being a good teammate to some extent, but he took responsibility for that.
Doesn't matter. Nabers and Russell Wilson and Wan'Dale Robinson and that offensive unit together had no business being in that overtime.
I give none of them blame.
So let's talk about what really mattered here. The defense. Week 1, they gave up 220 yards rushing, something like that, and largely let the Commanders control the flow of the game, even though somehow the game was still 14-8 in the fourth quarter. Still, though, didn't look good. Struggle to stop the run. Just couldn't do much. This week, man, I mean, Dak Prescott's a great quarterback, between September and the end of December. And he put on a show and he was great himself, but I mean, look, when you get handed the ball, when you get handed the lead with 19 seconds left to play, and you know that the other team's kicker has to get only to midfield to kick that kick. And where did they take that ball? At the 30, 35 yard line? At the 30, I think they got it, right? Or maybe 35. I can't remember.
In overtime or in
Yeah.
the
No, no,
in
in
the like
regulation, that the
the
final drive in
regulation, they
regulation.
got it at like the 45 or some shit. It was a 64 yarder. So it
No, no, no,
was.
no. To start the drive, it was at
Oh,
the 30.
gotcha.
I think it was around
Yeah.
the 30 or 35, whatever it was. You can't let them get to the 50, and you have to know, like, they have all three timeouts. Your job is don't let them get these 15, 20 yards. That's it. That's your
Yep.
job. That you cannot let them get these 15, 20 yards, or he's going to hit this kick. And right away, he just, Shane Bowen and the defense just surrender 20 yards of free yardage.
Hmm.
I mean, it was, it was just another part of what we've seen from Bowen's defense. This rigidity of style, this basic prevent type defense, bend but don't break all game long, even in situations like this. In my opinion, using players out of position, not utilizing the strengths of the personnel he has, and basically just surrendering that game to the Cowboys. So I think that's the issue this week, right? What is Shane Bowen doing? He cost us this game. I mean, our friend Jay has said, after the game that it's nice to watch a Giants game where you can point to the one or two things and say, yep, that's why we lost, as opposed to everything is bad, right? And in this game, it
Hmm.
was Shane Bowen lost us that football game.
Yeah. And, and multiple occasions. Like, not only are we talking about, letting them get that field goal at the end of the half, they had them on 4th and 3, essentially, at the end of the game, before the Giants had to go down and score another touchdown, and they could have ended it. We gave up a DPI and a catch on the same play. They had a chance. They had their foot on their throats, and they couldn't end it. And for a defense that we've put all this money into, all these draft picks into, all our superstars on this team are on the defensive side of the ball. I blame Shane Bowen above everything, but somebody's got to make a play and end the game there.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to make a play to end the game, but yeah, there's just a lot wrong with the defense right now. I think there's been a big debate about are they even talented. I firmly believe that's a very talented unit. I just don't think he knows how to use his pieces, and guys are not stepping up in whatever roles he's giving them. And something's got to give, right? I mean, we're 0-2 now. This is we've ad nauseum talked about what does it mean for this coaching staff to get wins versus not wins versus requirements just to keep their jobs and all the different permutations of that. 0-2 was definitely not on the bingo cards, right? Of like that was not an acceptable outcome any way you slice it. I don't care how you got there. They're in real trouble now. And they're not going to get to their desired outcomes without this defense substantially changing and playing a hell of a lot better. I think my theory of the case when I was bullish on the record of the season, Monty, was a little bit of what we saw, right? That I believe Russell Wilson with this offensive unit can put up points. They're not going to put up 37 points every week, but can they put up 23 points every week? I think the answer
Mhm.
is yes, right? After you watch that, like if they start clicking, we have the players to put up points. And you saw, I mean, we don't have to get into it too much, but when Marcus Bowe came in after James Hudson had a fucking meltdown and the first drive, Marcus Bowe held down that O line. The O line was solid, at least in pass pro. It's not a good run blocking unit, but it's a really solid pass blocking unit, which is kind of perfect for Russell Wilson, right? He just needs that extra second or so to really launch that ball and find receivers. So if we can pass protect and Russell Wilson can find our receivers down the field or wherever he wants to find them, and by the way, he was using the middle of the field plenty in this game. Um, this unit can put up points, but you can't win games if you're giving up 30, right? That's not going to
Yeah.
happen. So the defense has to step up substantially.
Yeah. Um, what I think is the frustrating part about this game is that I can point just off the top of my head. I could point to so many scenarios where we could have just won this game. It's like it's not that one thing you could focus on. I could go all the way back to the first drive of the game when I say if fucking James Hudson doesn't shove that guy's face into the dirt and gets a 15-yard penalty, we were on the 2-yard line after that Wan'Dale Robinson catch, and we could have came away with 7 points there. We could have kicked a field goal on that time where Cam Scatterbo dropped that catch for a first down. Cam Scatterbo could have caught that ball, and we could have got a first down and probably would have scored a touchdown. We could have held them the first time before we had that incredible throw to Malik Nabers. We could have held them the second time. Like, there's so many preventable things where, between the defense and, the most penalties, and I don't know how, 3 quarters in, it was the most since 2014, and then we went on to have even more penalties after that. That doesn't include the declined penalties and the offsetting and all that. It was just a brutal game for us on defense from a coaching aspect, and our offense still almost carried us to that victory.
Yeah, I mean, disappointing. I think we can close it out with they need to be a lot better as a unit. They need to perform a hell of a lot better, and they have the talent to do so. Um, Carl Banks alluded to something about talking to one of the leaders on that defense tonight, saying that change is coming, an accountability based tweet, I guess. I don't know what that means in terms of how they'll play. I think a lot of this is scheme. Um, I will just say that our friend Research Rick near NYG fan in Charlotte, he posted a tweet today, linking a quote tweet from Andre Patterson from a year ago saying how Dexter Lawrence is the best nose tackle in the NFL, and he's trying to keep him at nose tackle because that's where he's dominant. And then showing his snaps, and starting in 2022 onward, he's hovering around 70% of his snaps at nose tackle, which is where you want him. And so far this year, and this matches what I thought I saw with my eyes, Dexter Lawrence is only playing nose 47% of the time. 47% of the time. The best nose tackle in the NFL is playing nose 47% of the time. The other 53%, he's splitting between being a 3 tech or over the tackle. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here? Like, what is Shane Bowen doing with his players? Like, if you don't know how to use Dexter Lawrence, who the hell do you know how to use? It seems to me like he just has a system, and he's like, this is my system. I don't care who you are, what your strengths are. You got to fit into this, and I'm going to run it this way.
So the one thing I'll say is they absolutely do need to use Dexter Lawrence more at the nose guard. I do think Dexter Lawrence is much better than we kind of see right now. He's not flashing. We all see he's not making the visible impact we see. But if you look underneath the hood, you look at his win rate, his PFF grade, all that type of stuff, all that looks good. I think the breakout is coming. And I will say, look, they need to increase that. But, it was down at 60. It was at 60% last year. And Dexter Lawrence was having the best season of his entire career before he got hurt. And that was underneath Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen needs to get back to that and we know Dexter Lawrence can be good underneath Shane Bowen. So we just need to get him back there.
Absolutely. Lot of changes have to come. But bottom line is you have the Chiefs coming up this week. You absolutely need to win. And this is a beatable Chiefs team. They're struggling on offense. They've lost all their playmakers around Patrick Mahomes. He's their leading rusher right now. They don't have anybody for him to throw the ball to. Travis Kelce is looking like he's getting a little bit older and a little bit closer to being married to a billionaire. That team is beatable. They're struggling. Their secondary is kind of toast other than McDuffie. It's not the typical Chiefs team. The Giants in their home opener need to find a way to find, they need to get a W. That's the bottom line. And it's going to require Brian Dable and his staff, including Shane Bowen, sitting down and actually having a complimentary football plan to win this game. They can't be operating in silos, which is what it kind of feels like right now. They need to figure out a way to get this win. Anyway, do you have any other thoughts on this before we go on to the linebackers?
No, not really. Go. We gotta go win Sunday. I'll say the last thing I'll say. We talked about this. We spoke earlier today, and every one of these wins matter. And at the end of the season, we could be looking at this like, well, if they got that win versus Dallas, division win, one more win at the end of the season, these guys keep their job. Yeah, you can look at that at the end of the season. But the way we're looking at this right now, it's week 3. You have a lot of season ahead of you. You have time to save your job. You lost this game. It is what it is. Can't cry about it now. Go win those games and make it not matter. That's it.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Yep. All right, let's go into this week's position group, and I think this is well timed. We have a tendency to do this, find the right position for the right time of year. I think the Giants' weakest position group right now, if you look across the roster, has to be linebacker, and it
Especially if you
has,
look at free agents.
yeah. I mean, so we're seeing it in the Shane Bowen defense that requires your linebackers to not be, downhill blitzers, but more of coverage type guys, hook defenders, much more conservative. And he depends on them in his zone system. You're seeing the deficiencies in the Giants crew. I think Micah McFadden was somebody they hoped would be a big part of it this year. He gets hurt. Bobby
Mm-hmm.
Okereke has really struggled to
Mm-hmm.
fit into this system. He's not great in zone coverage. He doesn't feel natural out there. He's more of you know, a run and hit kind of linebacker and a blitzer, and he's not looking comfortable. He's also 29 years old. He looks a little like he's lost a step from a couple of years ago, and that happens to linebacker. So Okereke is coming into the last year of his deal next year. Um, Almost no chance the Giants are bringing him back at his current value. I think it's around 12 million or something like that, right? Or $10 million
Mm-hmm.
dollars, some number like that. Um, Micah McFadden's had a pretty nasty injury, and I don't know when he's coming back. They think he might miss the entire season. He's in his final year, so we don't really know what's going to happen with him next year. You have nobody behind them. I mean, Darius Musa is the only other guy on the roster behind him who's he's a special teamer. He's not really even somebody you want as your backup linebacker, as your primary backup linebacker. We were talking about this before the show. The Giants are probably going to need to add three people to this room for next year. No matter who the coach is, no matter who the DC is, they're going to need like three linebackers. And
Mm-hmm.
that's going to start in free agency. But listen, here's the good news: it's a pretty strong linebacker class in this draft. It's not a bad one.
No.
I think there's some really interesting talents here. So we picked, let's say, 5+1. We have five guys that we both graded, that we think are worthy of review, and one guy that I'll talk about at the end, just to go over because he's a late riser here and somebody worth discussing who's not on most people's top 50 big boards. But we'll give you six players overall to talk about today. And they offer different skill sets. Some of them are your traditional, run and hit guys. Some of them are your coverage guys, but there's some significant talent here. So per usual, we have a grading system. We'll go through it with you guys as we go from player to player. Monty and I both independently grade these guys. We come up with our joint grades and we go from there. So I think it's pretty clear who our number one linebacker is, Monty. Why don't you introduce him and I'll take our number two.
You take him because that way it'll line up better with our 2 and 3 because 2 and 3 is kind of our guys. So go ahead and start here.
Actually, two is more my guy if you look at the scoring.
357 is the guy that and then he's 3-5.
Because you're such an asshole the way you graded. Okay, never mind. All right, fine. I'll do one. All right, so our number one linebacker, and this guy is somebody who I think right now is probably the consensus number one linebacker in the country, and it's CJ Allen, linebacker from Georgia. So CJ Allen, I got to pull up his. I think he's six. What is he? 6'3", 238, something like that.
6'1", 235.
I'm sorry, 6'1", 235.
True junior.
True Junior, this guy is a specimen. If you like aggressive linebackers who are flying all over the field, this is your guy. Aggressive play style is always attacking the line of scrimmage. His focus is always to create a hit and create negative plays, run stops, sacks, whatever it may be. He is he's the guy you see vocally back there. He wears that number 3 in Georgia. To remind your comp, we'll get to him later, but that's a famous number for linebackers in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically the leader of that defense. Physical guy, plays with a lot of power. Doesn't just hit you to tackle you. He tries to run through you when he hits you. He's that kind of hitter. He's all explosion, all force. He's intimidating. He plays with an insane motor. The guy's flying all over the field. He's relentless. He's strong. despite being this aggressive, he's actually technically very sound. He's a very technically sound tackler. He's technically sound in taking his angles to the football, identifying run lanes, identifying plays, and diagnosing quickly. He stacks and sheds very effectively. He uses his length, uses his strength, and really tosses guys much bigger than him off of him very easily to make tackles. And while he is a great athlete and is used in coverage, if there's any weakness in his game, maybe it's that he could be a little bit better of a read zone defender. But not a liability in my opinion in zone defense. He can kind of do it all. Defenses, you can, excuse me, deficiencies, you can say he's a little too aggressive at times at the line of scrimmage. That'll take him out of plays
Mhm.
occasionally. And like I mentioned about his coverage, I think that he has room for improvement. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's a lot of athletic trait ability there. He's not a proficient technical zone defender yet, but he's getting there. And I think that's something we can watch this year. Um, he's young and he's still developing all his skills, but there's not a lot of negatives here. I mean, overall,
Mhm.
physical, high motor player, plays with explosiveness, urgency, big time tackler, beats the crap out of everybody that he comes across. He's the leader of the team. That's really important for a linebacker who you're probably going to have wearing your green dot. He's a leader. He basically communicates and runs that defense. Plays with speed, power, athleticism. He's kind of got everything as a Mike linebacker at the NFL level, and projects as a star, not a good player, but as a star at the NFL level. So, I see somebody Scott put in the chat. Yeah, that's the comp, right? His
Mhm.
comp is he wears number 3 in Georgia. He reminds you a lot of Roquan Smith at Georgia. Plays a very similar style of football. So, what do you think, Monty? Tell me
Yeah.
about CJ Allen.
It's so easy to see the comp, and it feels so damn lazy. The number 3 Georgia linebacker, they're literally the same size, like 6'1", 230. Like there's so many similarities to him, but you can definitely see it, man. He's look, is he what Roquan Smith was at Georgia today? No, but we're very early into this football season still, and he's been phenomenal so far for the record. Um, this is a guy who right now I see as a plus level player at a lot of the things that we're grading, but I think this is a guy who'd be a plus type guy very easily. Like he has the upside in almost every spot to be a high level player. He is very well rounded. I was talking to Sal before this that I'll be honest, I think linebacker is one of the positions I have the most trouble with projecting to the NFL because
That's tough.
college linebackers are so much different than NFL linebackers. It's changing so much. They're so small. They're not built to be these run stoppers. But CJ Allen is very much more of I don't want to call him a traditional linebacker, but he's like a modern linebacker who does it all. Like in that, like a Roquan Smith. Um, you called it out. Very, very, very aggressive player. Always pushing to the line of scrimmage. He's pushing, looking for a lane to close and make a play. You mentioned, he is the leader of that defense. We're going to talk about it. There's a lot of guys I saw like communicating with their defense at different levels. This guy was the most. He was over here tapping guys on the ass, moving them over, like shouting out to his safeties and corners. He's always communicating. Super physical tackler, blow him up. You talked about that. Motor's crazy, pretty dependable tackler. Really, keeps guys off his body. Uses his arm length and can stack and shed pretty well. And it definitely, as you mentioned, he is a solid coverage guy, but I think can still improve there. And I think if he improves there, that will, that's something where we might be talking about this as a top 10 pick if he can improve there and just kind of polish out the rest of it. There's just more of a polish thing that needs to happen here. But I truly think that this is a first round linebacker, probably back end of the first round right now. But this could be one of your rare blue chip linebackers that you don't see often. He easily could make that jump into that. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I see K-Mac asking late first. I'll be honest, I think by the time the season's done, I doubt it. This guy, when you watch these kids, especially these younger kids, I think he's 20, right? When you watch these younger players, who pop off the tape in their sophomore season and look like dominant forces as freshmen, sophomore with elite athleticism who play like he does, unless there's a substantial fall off, these are usually like the elite athletes who are going to be risers.
You just need to see more coverage chops. And it's not that I'm seeing him bad in coverage. You just need to see it more often. I've seen him make plays. I've seen him get it. He's great at getting his arms into passing lanes. I've seen him play some man coverage and knock that ball out. So he smashes you. So if you catch the ball in front of him, he's gonna dislodge that football. He just needs to have a little bit more feel and wiggle for that zone. And if he can bring that coverage chops in today's NFL, yeah, it's going to be hard to get
Yeah,
him
I mean, then
anywhere
you're
than
talking
top
about a
15.
top 10 to top 15 pick, depending on
Correct.
how the rest of the draft class shakes out, right? I mean,
Correct. A
you
blue
you
chip guy potentially.
right. I mean, you've seen non-valued positions go top 15. Like Kyle Hamilton was pound for pound probably the best player in that draft 2022. I think he went 14, but still,
Mhm.
I mean, he went top 15. He
Roquan
was a blue chipper. Roquan, what did he go?
10, I
Five?
think.
10. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like the the elite athletes at these positions are still elite athletes at these positions, right? They're projected to be the elite NFL stars, and they're gonna go higher than you assume. So if he has a good year at Georgia this year, where
8.
like yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, 8.
yeah, if he has a good year at Georgia where he does a little bit more in coverage and still plays with that aggressive play style and leads that team, his draft stock's going to go up, and we're talking about a top 15 player. Let's
Yep.
get into the grading. So our categories, we'll go through them, but I'll run through them very fast. Athleticism and range, strength and durability, instincts and IQ. This is really important for these linebackers who are mostly, we're looking at guys who are playing Mike. Coverage, blitzing and pass rush, and tackling and block shedding. So those are our categories. And then we have a cumulative score. And we got, you guys by now know it's a 1 to 5 scale. Athleticism and range, it pops off the tape. He's damn near a 5. We both gave him a 4. 5 is going to be
Mhm.
hard to get from anybody, but
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to discuss there. Strength and durability, again, we both give him a 4. He is not lacking any strength. The guy brings the pop on every play.
Well, one thing I do want to say about the athleticism range, because I didn't mention it in my notes. This is a guy who, no matter where he is on the field, and this goes to his motor, he wants to be involved in every single play. And you'll see him flying from the middle of the field and smash a guy who's fighting his way out of a tackle. He uses that range. That is, that's part of it. He's a great athlete, but he uses that range.
Instincts. We both gave him a 3 here. We could have gone higher. I think some of this has to do with just sometimes a little over aggressive. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
some of this is built into coverage, but I just feel
Yeah.
like I think this is a guy. He's a 3 because he's mainly because he's young. I think another year of experience. This could be a 4 by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we're watching early true junior season and sophomore tape. Like he said, he over pursues, his coverage can improve. It's 3, it's good, but this is, yeah, like you said, this is one of them. If this hits 4 at the end of the year, we're looking things different.
Coverage is also for the same reason a 3.
Yep.
Blitzing when pressure, he's a 4, bordering on 5 already. The guy's an elite blitzer. His explosiveness and speed coming down the line of scrimmage is it it really rivals his teammate who went last year in Jalen Walker. Like, that kind of explosive burst. So that's already a strength of his. Tackling, sound tackler, 4, above average already, and
Yeah.
block shedding, 4. I almost give him a 5 here because for a guy his size and his age, just tossing dudes who are like 100 pounds bigger than him off him like so easily is very impressive. Like that will translate to the NFL level at making tackles at the second level.
Yeah.
Um, Cumulative
And,
score, we both came up with 371. So this is a nearly already a guy who hasn't even played his third year of college football, and he's just beginning it. We're already reaching a projection of probably a Pro Bowl level athlete at the
yeah,
next
and
level.
I mean, we're seeing that early in the tape. He's a 90.7 PFF grade early on so far. So we'll see how that goes to the rest of the year. But yeah, man, I think when you look at the grades that we gave him, you look at instincts and coverage, getting either or both of those up to a 4, and then one of these 4s, just one of these 4s becoming a 5, getting one of these up to an elite skill. Those things will make him a top 10, top 15 pick.
Yep. All right. You want to go to LB2 here? This is your
Yeah,
guy.
by a hair. LB2 by a hair. This was my guy. Loved him from the second I watched him. Whit Weeks, linebacker from LSU. So let me go ahead and pull up Whit Weeks. Let's see what we had with him. Oh, no, where is he? Hang on. Here he is. Sorry about that. 6'2", 225. He is a true junior. These are my notes on. I thought he was a very rangy player who uses range. Like, he's a very good athlete, but rangy is how I would mostly define him. He is a guy who can, make plays that other linebackers I don't see making. And he uses that with just kind of his reach too. The way he just kind of lays out and gets hands on guys to make plays is really impressive. That's part of it. I thought it really, really strong zone coverage feel. I thought I could watch him reading the QB's eyes and constantly shifting around and putting himself in the passing lanes effectively. And then, not only did I think he was a good zone coverage guy, I thought he showed, good size, speed, and fluidity to kind of carry either a running back, a wide receiver, or a tight end in man coverage. Obviously, to a wide receiver, you're not going to see that consistently, but I saw him do it, and that impressed me. Maybe not the best guy that I've seen do it. Maybe not the best guy in this class, and we'll get into that at man coverage. But I think the best mix between zone and man of anybody I watched here really impressed me. Very, very comfortable. And his coverage on responsibilities, they trusted him a lot there. He was constantly dropping back into coverage when I was watching him. But when he wasn't dropping the coverage, I saw him blitzing, and he was a really effective blitzer. He used really good timing, hands, and athleticism to make plays and to meet you that range, man. Like, the second he got a chance to close, he closed and made a play on that ball. Really just showed really strong instincts in all phases of the game. Like I say, the closer, and he's another guy who just brings power, whether he's tackling or he's just like meeting a blocker in the hole. He always brings power. Now on the negative side, kind of something we talked about with CJ Allen. Sometimes that is a little bit different. It's not necessarily that he's over pursuing, but I think that aggressiveness that he plays with some of that ranginess, you see it with Abdul Carter a little bit. I think that's probably a good comparison. You see that he's getting his hands on guys that other guys aren't getting on. I kind of see that thing a lot where he's getting a hand on a guy and it's coming off as kind of a missed tackle, but it's really that he really shouldn't be there. But there's definitely times where he should probably just be running through him instead of trying to, make the shoelace tackle. And, that's just something I noticed. He's, and he, let's see, he's not consistently disruptive as a run defender. I noticed that, I think he's good enough, but he's more reactive than proactive against the run and kind of relies on his athleticism as time. And he's not like a total block deconstructor. He's got some decent stack and shed ability, but it's not to the level of other guys. So
he'll get washed by the rush sometimes.
Yeah.
By the bigger blockers.
Yeah, he's not your big, stout, strong run defender. So what do you got on him?
I think you got most of it. I mean, he's a pretty solid Mike linebacker. He reminds me a lot when I'm thinking about who he kind of reminded me of in recent years of Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Like that kind of a,
Okay.
really reliable middle linebacker. I think he has better range and athleticism than
Yeah,
Trotter
I
did.
was going to say that. We both
But
love
it,
Trotter.
yeah, we liked him. He's wasting away on the Eagles bench right
Yeah.
now, unfortunately. But we could
Shows
actually
how
use him.
much we know about projecting linebackers, but
He's probably good because he's just sitting
yeah.
on their bench and they have other
Yeah.
players. Um, but Weeks does have that sideline to sideline athletic ability, right? So I think
Mhm.
you can start him and rely on him as a scheme versatile linebacker, but fundamentally he's a Mike, right? He's a lead your defense as a Mike linebacker. He's a tackling machine. He will, like you said, he'll sometimes arm tackle, and sometimes there
Yeah.
are some concerns with his frame. I think that's the issue that we're getting at is he's 6'2", 225. So he's one of these, like, he's taller, but he's not like this humongous guy
Yeah, he needs that
compared to
height.
other linebackers. So there will be times where bigger dudes are going to just wash him out of the play when, like, the second level, when you have a very athletic, strong guard, you get to the second level, he will sometimes struggle to disengage from those blocks.
Mhm.
And sometimes he won't blow through a tackle the way the last guy did, right? He's
Mhm.
not that kind of strength, but he's a very fundamentally sound tackler. He has really good instincts. And, one of the most important stats when you're looking at production at the linebacker position is tackles. You can just tell who's getting there. And I mean, he had 125 tackles last year in his first year starting. That's ridiculous
Insane.
production, right? I mean, that you're getting into Luke Kuechly type college level production, and you're putting up those kinds of numbers. He's not going to blow you away with elite athleticism, but he's a good athlete. He's not going to blow you away with elite strength, but he's got good strength. But he's technically very sound. He makes a lot of tackles, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's pretty reliable, and he's a good blitzer. I think, like you said, he's actually surprisingly explosive at the line of scrimmage when you bring him on a blitz to penetrate and get in the backfield and make stops and get sacked. So um, I really like. I didn't see a lot of weaknesses in his game other than the strength issues. So
What was
I
your
like him a
thoughts on
lot.
his coverage? Because I know we talked briefly about this. You probably didn't seem to be as high as I was on his coverage.
So, well, I think when it comes to coverage, I think he's going to be more scheme dependent than some of the other guys we're going to talk about. I think he is a pretty good zone defender. Like, I think as a hook
Mhm.
defender, he's fine. I think he has good spatial awareness in zone, and he's reliable. I don't think he's a turn and run kind of guy, right? I don't
That's
think
not
he's
his
that
strength.
kind
I
of
think
line.
he can
Right,
do it,
right.
but the reason I like his coverage is, again, we'll talk about other guys, but I think, some of the turn and run guys we'll talk about don't have the instincts and zone coverage that he has.
Right. I mean, so there's a trade-off, right? Some of the stuff is
Mhm.
going to be, what are you looking for? I think if what you're looking for in your linebacker is just be a strong tackling machine at Mike and be a solid, reliable zone defender, he absolutely is. He's perfect for that. If you're looking for a guy who's a little bit more rangy and athletic in pass coverage, I don't think he's that. I think
Mhm.
it's not really a criticism. I think it's just a critique of his
Yeah.
game.
But I do
That's
think
all.
linebackers typically you're looking more for a strong zone defender. It's nice to
Yeah,
have the
no.
man, but typically that's what you're asking to do.
Right. I mean, the 80-20 rule, he fits the 80, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he's the majority of what you're looking for. I didn't see a lot of weaknesses in his game. The only weakness is, I think, play strength, if you want to call it that. And I think that's it mainly shows up in his stack and shed ability. That's the
A-
only issue.
And what'd you say for your comp again? Did you say a comp?
I didn't use a comp. I just said his tackling numbers are like Luke Kuechly. I'm
Oh,
not
okay,
comping him
okay.
to
I
Luke
thought.
Kuechly. Um, who did I think of a comp for him? I don't know if I thought of a comp. I have to think of a non-white linebacker.
Yeah, I used a
Yeah.
white linebacker, but it does remind me a lot. I said Logan Wilson.
I'll give you one. He's a lot, and don't get PTSD, but he's a lot like one of the better years of Blake Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Because he had some good zone years. I see that.
yeah, Blake Martinez was a pretty solid player before he got hurt, right? He was a guy who was a tackling machine. He was good in zone. He was a really reliable Mike. I wouldn't say he was an elite athlete, but he could go sideline to sideline before he got hurt. I think something along that kind of a player, I think I would expect from him.
Yeah, I liked Logan Wilson because I really like Logan Wilson's coverage ability matched with him being such a good rangy tackler and good all around player who kind of like relies. I thought that's where I kind of saw some of that.
Yep. You want to get into the grades here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we had identical grades on these first two guys. So I'll just go through them quickly. Athleticism and range, we both gave him a 4. He's a very good athlete. Strength and durability, for what I said, I still gave him a 3 because I think for the most part his strength holds up.
Mhm. But
It's a it's
we
a
could have gone twos here. That was
Yeah,
close.
that's his weakness.
Mhm.
IQs, he's a 4. He has really good instincts at finding the football. Coverage, we both gave him a 4.
No,
Actually, no,
you
you
gave
gave him
him
a 4.
three.
I gave him a 3 here. And this is for the reason I said. I think he's limited to zone defender. I don't think he's a run and chase man type defender. Um, Blitzing, we both gave him a 4. Tackling, you gave him a 3. I gave him a 4. I really value his tackling technique. I think it's solid.
I see. I love what he's capable of doing with his technique. But as you mentioned, he's an arm tackler. And it does lead to some missed tackles, but it does also add some range to what he can do.
Yep. And block shedding, again, I could have gone a little lower here, but I gave him a 3 because I didn't see enough of his. I didn't see too many instances of him getting washed, but I saw it a couple
They
of
drop
times, and
him
I
in
thought,
coverage a lot.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I saw it enough times on tape where I'm thinking at the NFL level, if they're asking him to come downhill and take out the run, and he's facing some athletic left guard who's climbing to the second level, I do wonder if that's going to be a problem for him.
Like,
So
I'll be honest with you. In my initial notes, I didn't even really write anything negative about his run game. And then I was like, I saw I had no negatives on them. I was like, well, he wasn't like that impressive as a run defender. I gotta put something in there for that. Like, it
yeah,
didn't just pop on tape a lot, but it was clear. You watch him, you're like, okay, yeah, it's not the strongest of run defenders.
we graded out at a 3.57 for both of us. Very strong grade, above average NFL linebacker. I don't think I'd be surprised if this guy cracks the first round. I mean, there's a chance, depending on how this year goes. I guess the back end is possible, but he looks like a solid day two, like a early to mid second round linebacker to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll probably be a day two linebacker, and he's a day two linebacker I'd love to get.
Yeah, I mean, he might be in range. All right,
Yeah,
that's number two. Our number three player, um, by a hair,
by
uh,
point
by a,
oh seven.
yeah, um, is his teammate Harold Perkins, also of LSU, 6'1". You could argue 6 feet even, 222 pounds. For those who know him, an elite player who was supposed to come out in last year's draft, but tore his ACL early in the 2024 season. Um,
Better
Harold
than last
Perkins
year.
is your Yeah, Harold Perkins is your do-it-all linebacker. He is your prototypical new age athlete playing linebacker, versatile, explosive, elite athlete, sideline to sideline range, can basically line up anywhere on the field. He's very good at diagnosing plays, in my opinion. He's gotten better at it. He's a good run and chase defender with good downhill bursts. He's really an excellent blitzer and pass rusher. He will blow up plays when you don't see him coming as a either as a blitzer right off the line of scrimmage or as a delayed blitzer because he's so explosive and fast, very quick, disruptive. Um, like I mentioned, he's actually technically very good, diagnoses things quickly, fluid hips. He can turn and run with wide receivers in the slot and
Mm-hmm.
and stay stride for stride with them. For a guy with that kind of athleticism, he's surprisingly stout and strong. He sheds blockers very easily because he's a strong dude. And he has a get football mentality. See football, get football. He wants to cause turnovers. He's always looking to slap the ball out of people's hands or try to snatch the ball out of the air. Um, he does everything. Um, here's the negatives for him. Is he a little undersized for playing true off-ball linebacker? Yes. Or is he a little undersized? Is he very undersized for playing true edge? Yes. Is he not quite the fluid athlete to play true nickel corner? Yes. So it comes down to what is he, right? That's his weakness. Is you don't know where to, he's
Tweener.
versatile, but he's a bit of a tweener. It depends on how you view him. He's not a traditional linebacker, so he doesn't have those tackling production numbers that his teammate does because he's not going to be that middle linebacker who's staying there focusing on the run game and tackling guys. Um, there are times where his size affects him in stack and shed, and sometimes because of his athleticism and his speed and his explosiveness, he will take himself right out of the play. Those are his negatives. Uh, Bottom line, though, this is the type of elite athlete the NFL covets, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
less so now than they did, back in the 2019 draft, or the 2020 draft. But
Yeah, they've seen it
these are
bust on them too often. Now they're starting to get a little hesitant.
right, but still like elite traits in this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're, you know, if you're a team with a DC who knows exactly what you want from this guy, he can be used as a terror for your defense to destroy offensive players. Like he is an eraser. Do you remember a couple of years ago we were talking about what is Cooper DeJean? He's sort of the answer in the secondary. He's the eraser
Hmm.
to big slot receivers and athletic tight ends, and like he's the eraser on defense, right? On the second half, on the in the defensive backfield. Harold Perkins is that second level eraser, right? You
Hmm.
can you can say that team. You know what? They have Isaiah Likely as their primary target. Just use that as an example. We want you to run with Isaiah Likely. He can run with Isaiah Likely. He can be physical with Isaiah Likely, or some slot receiver, or they can say, or you can have some running back who's a problem, like Bijan Robinson. Right? You're playing the Falcons. Who's gonna account for Bijan Robinson? Well, I got Harold Perkins on my team. I can have him focus and key in on him. He can handle him whether he's running the football or catching it out of the backfield. He's that type of a player. He's not a traditional Mike. He is more of a Will, but he's really just a defensive weapon. So I'll stop there. What are your thoughts on Perkins?
Yeah, man. I think if you got the right defensive coordinator with him, he could be dangerous. A guy that comes to my head is like a Jesse Minter. You see, like if Jesse Minter got a head coaching job, the way he uses a guy like Derwin James, I think that's a guy who would really, find a way to use him. But he's a guy who could also be totally wasted away with an uncreative defensive coordinator because it's hard to find a position for. I'll just kind of like reiterate some things you said. You pretty much nailed it all. Very, very, very athletic, very explosive. Great blitzer, great blitzer. Very good. Very good run and chase linebacker. Like you said, fluid hips that can run with anybody. When I was talking earlier about Whit, this is what this is the guy who maybe doesn't have the zone coverage chops Whit has, but he can carry anybody. He has that takeaway mentality. But yeah, man, I mean, he's not your traditional linebacker. He does lack a little bit of that instinct for the linebacker position. He does get pushed around a little bit. He doesn't stack and shed like some of these other guys. If you ask him to be a traditional linebacker, he is going to struggle. But if you ask him to be a chess piece with a creative defensive coordinator, this is a guy who can be a weapon and be a game-changing weapon with the right guy. So I'd say let's get into his scores, but it's a really interesting player.
One last thing,
Yeah.
okay? Just to give you perspective on how he's being utilized this year so far. He's had 170 snaps so far this year in 3 games. This is where he's lined up. 21 snaps on the D line, 76 snaps in the box, one at free safety, 67 in the slot, and five at corner.
Mm-hmm.
So just think about that, right? Like that, he's used all over the field at every
You see
level.
him. You see him use all sorts of coverage.
So that's the kind of player we're talking about. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, before we go to the scores, I think he's a luxury pick for a lot of teams. I mentioned that too. I think if you have your two middle linebackers set, right? If you're like, these are my inside linebackers, or my Mike and my weak and my other or my strong side linebacker, and they're responsible for stopping the run, they're responsible for the zone coverage, the traditional role, and I have a spot for an eraser as my will, and I know how to use him, he's perfect. But if you're thinking I need a guy to do the dirty work at linebacker, this is not your guy.
No.
Like that's just not your guy. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
I'll say, like, yes, he's a luxury pick for a lot of teams. I will say there's going to be a handful of defensive coaches that will look at this guy and say there's five guys like this in the entire NFL, and they need to have them because I know how to use them. There's going to be
Mm,
a lot of these like Ravens guys, like a Jesse Minter. You see how he used Derwin James, like a Mike McDonald. You saw how he used like a Kyle Hamilton, like things like that.
like the Wink Martindale guys would love
Mm-hmm.
this guy, right? Because they
Yes.
love. I mean, Wink Martindale wanted Isaiah Simmons on this team
Yeah.
because he
Was
knew how
his
to use
number
him,
one guy in that draft.
right? So that's the kind of team that's going to covet him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I can see the Chargers. If Minter stays with the Chargers, I can see him 100% ending up over there, or McDonald, or on the Seahawks or something.
Yeah, I
But
mean
like,
they have
you
the
know,
Derwin already. Like if he gets a head coaching job, it'd be even better.
right. I mean, anyway, just it's a fascinating player to watch this year. Let's get into the grades. Athleticism and range, we both give him a 5. This man is an
Yep,
elite athlete.
that's his elite trait.
Durability and strength. You gave him a 2. I gave him a 3. I think you're being a little harsh, but I get it.
I mean, I just don't like. I think we just talked about it. Like, you're not putting him and asking him to do the dirty work. I think if you ask him to do that, I think you're going to see a below average player.
Yep. Instincts and IQ. You gave him a 2 again. I gave him a 3. Tell me why you're giving this guy a 2 on instincts.
I just don't think that he is an instinctual linebacker. I don't think this is a guy who's reading and reacting to the defense and calling out these certain run games and things like that. I think he's more, you ask him to do a certain thing and he'll do it. I think he uses
Okay.
athleticism to win. I don't
I see
think
what you're saying.
I think he's more reactive than proactive.
I mean, I think it's fair to grade him because we're grading them from the center of what is a traditional linebacker. He's
Mm-hmm.
clearly not going to be asked to do that in the NFL. Like he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's your will. He's taking instruction from your mic.
Correct.
I think that's so. I don't think it's so much of an issue, but I think that's fair enough. Coverage, we both gave him a 4. Elite in coverage, and honestly, I could have given him a 5 here. This guy can run with anyone.
Yeah, I mean, look, he does things other linebackers like. Let's put something in perspective real quick, because some people are going to go and I think look at some of his like PFF numbers. If you pull it up, coverage grade right now is 42.6. His passer grade rating allows 108.8. But I think something you need to put in perspective when you keep that in mind is what Sal is saying, is where this guy plays, which is everywhere. And he is put into compromised positions that other linebackers aren't put in. And he is being asked to do the works of a safety, of a corner, of a nickel corner, and he's not that. But he's a guy you can ask to do that, and I do think that's what makes him so impressive, is that he allows you to do things with him that other guys can't. But I don't think he's good enough to do that full time, and I also don't think he's the zone coverage corner some linebackers some other guys are. But at the end of the day, his man coverage abilities as a linebacker is what made me give him a 4.
I agree. Um, Blitzing and pressure, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 5. I think he's elite at that. I gave it to him because he's getting better.
I could have gave him a 5, but I think of the worlds of the Micah Parsons we've seen come out, of what Abdul Carter was, of I don't see him as a true pass rusher. I don't see him with these pass rush moves. I see him
Right. He's not going to play edge at the NFL level.
I see him as a blitzer. I see him as my comp last year was Devin White. I see him as a guy who can use his athleticism and his bend and whatnot to really close and get there. But I don't think he's the guy who's using pass rush moves and beating you around the edge.
Yep. That's fair enough. And tackling, we both gave him a 3. Solid, nothing outstanding there. Block shedding, we both gave him a 3. Same reason. Overall score, you came in at a 3.28. I came in at a 3.71. I'm a little bit higher on him. The difference between those two is basically just 2 grades higher overall. So it's not a huge gap, but I'm higher on him. But I think we fully acknowledge he could be an A+ player on the right defense with the right coordinator and coach. He could be a complete bust at the NFL level also if he goes to the wrong system. There's a wide variation between upside and downside here.
Correct. He is not. He lacks some things that make you a linebacker.
Yep. That's number 3. That's our linebacker 3. You want to head into number 4 here?
Yes, I'll hand it in a 4 here. Guy that's very high in a lot of people's lists right now.
He's linebacker 1 for a lot of people.
A lot of people's linebacker 1. It's Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State, 6'5", 243. I mean, that is your traditional big boy linebacker right there. And that size does show up, man. He's strong at the point of attack, and he's able to take on these O-line blocks and hold up and anchor down. You see him do it consistently. Very, very patient linebacker. He's disciplined in diagnosing plays before, triggering and trying to make a play on them. Shows leadership and understanding of the defensive structure. Another guy who you see moving his guys around and making sure everybody's in the right place. Sonny Styles and CJ Allen, those, everybody for the most part, I saw doing it, but those two the most. Consistent gapper integrity and lane discipline. This is a guy who never is out of place. And even times where I'm kind of like, come on, dude, like go make a play on that. It's like, all right, but at the same time, I get it because you don't want this guy cutting back. And right, he's gonna be where you ask him to be, and he's gonna hold his gap and keep lane integrity. Uses his length and hand placement to keep blockers off his frame. Very, very, very good at that. He does not get guys inside of him. He leaves himself whenever a run play comes at him that he can quickly shed off it and make a play. Very strong there. Reliable, technical, sound tackler. Very, very almost never see this guy miss a tackle. Displays solid awareness in zone coverage, recognition of passing lanes, kind of just always feels like he knows where the quarterback's looking, putting himself in a position to kind of disrupt where the quarterback wants to go. Not even know if he's not necessarily knocking balls out of the air and making plays on them. He's putting in a position that limits where the quarterback can go, and that's still valuable. Now the negatives. Lacks that top end speed and range to cover sideline to sideline. And maybe it's an effort issue. I'm not sure, but I don't ever see this guy be a rangy guy. He never is going sideline to sideline, making plays. He's not that guy that's, gonna be the third guy in on a tackle. You don't really see that. So I think there's a little bit of both to it. He doesn't bring power as a tackler. And I said he was a very good run stopper, like a very reliable one, but he's the guy who's going to allow extra yards. The guy running backs are going to get 2-3 yards on him. He's going to get the tackle. They're not going to go for more, but they'll get those extra yards, and it's going to drive you nuts if he's a giant. He relies more on strength than finesse when shedding blocking. So he's not really a guy who's going to bring much as like a pass rusher, and a guy who is not going to really squeeze by and make a play in the backfield in the run game, and not overly explosive and closing bursts on that same note. So you have anything to add to that side? I know we talked and we had pretty similar notes on this guy.
No, just a couple of things. I mean, so background is important here. So he is the son of a former NFL player. His dad was Lorenzo Styles, linebacker on the Falcons and on the Super Bowl Rams team with Kurt Warner. So
Okay.
he played several years in the
Oh, yeah.
NFL. His brother is also starting defensive back on Ohio State, Lorenzo Styles Jr. So it's a football family.
Yeah.
Sonny Styles was
Like
the
that.
sec. Yeah, and Sonny Styles was actually a safety. I don't know if you were aware, like coming out of high school, this was one of the second highest recruited safety in the country.
He's a big boy now.
Yeah, and so the projection always was like he had the athleticism and range of a safety, but he was always projected to eventually grow into an outside linebacker. Well, now he's playing Mike. He's playing inside linebacker.
Yeah.
He's transitioned.
So maybe it's more like kind of said, maybe we're not seeing his athleticism as tape as much as he doesn't have it, and which I
So
could have easily seen.
so the reason I went back and did more research because I mean you look at him on tape and he's a specimen, right? Like he just stands out as like a physical imposing specimen.
Oh,
And he
100%.
looks, and when you watch him, I agree with you. He looks like he should be moving better than he does, right? He looks like he
100%.
should be able to cover more range. Just his stride length alone, he should look like an easy sideline to sideline guy, and he doesn't do it. Well, he could do it. And when he made the transition, I think there was a concerted effort on his part to hone in on the technical aspects of playing a linebacker and to not overreact, to be more to try to develop better instincts and be more of like a patient reader of the play and then use athleticism afterwards to make plays. And I think if you think of it from that perspective, as a guy who's learning the position, it makes a little bit more sense to see what you're
Mhm.
seeing on film. Now, we're going to grade him the same, but I want to give that context that this is the guy who's relatively new to playing linebacker, who was a safety, who has NFL bloodlines, was a supreme athlete at the safety position. He's just a big dude, and they moved him. I think he plays more conservatively than he's able to
Mhm.
than he could. I mean, I think he could be much more aggressive. I think he chooses this play style to be more boring and more conservative with the way he's playing because he's transitioning to the position, doesn't want to make a lot of mistakes. As he gets more comfortable, he might project to be like that elite athlete who can go sideline to sideline and use his size to be an imposing figure. So I just, we'll grade him the way we grade him, but I think it's worth mentioning that like his
Mhm.
physical his physical traits are off the chart, right? 6'5", 243, whatever it is, right? I mean, it's ridiculous, and I think he's going to test well. So keep that in mind. I think this is why guys like Brugler and others have him ranked so high in the class. It doesn't translate on tape. Even the Ohio State guys, like our friend Ask, don't love him. But we're talking about Sonny Styles Dash. But just keep that in mind, right? Like there may be more here, and you may see it progress as the year goes on. So it's just a little insight into who the guy is. And he's young, Monty. He's again another guy who's I think he's 20, right? I want to say he's about 20. He's in 2021. So there's a guy he reminds me of. I'll get to that. But why don't we go into his grades?
One thing before we do, I want to say, just because I'm looking at stats and it kind of lines up what we're saying. I'm seeing like 0% missed tackle rate. Like that's what's showing up right now. It doesn't miss it, but average depth of tackle is in one of the lower percentiles at 2.2 yards. Like he let the plays come to him.
Yeah.
But one thing that's interesting, 84 coverage grade. As though he's not like a man coverage guy, that doesn't necessarily surprise me either, because he's always seems to be in the right place and the ball doesn't often come to him because he's kind of just floating and puts himself into the right lane. So,
Yep. I mean, I think it's worth paying attention to the background. All right, but let's just grade him for what we saw on tape and why
sure.
he's LB4 for us, even though I think he's going to be a lot higher on NFL teams' radar when the time is done.
Yeah.
Athleticism and range, you gave him a 2, I gave him a 3. So what we see on tape, he doesn't play with elite athleticism. He doesn't play with it yet at linebacker. But again, this is a to be determined. I think he's got it.
Yeah. I debate going 3 because I'm with you. Like this guy doesn't look like he should be slow. But at the end of the day, my rationale for giving him 2 is like, look, it doesn't matter what athleticism he has. He could be the fastest guy on earth. If he's not using it, then I can't give him a high grade.
Totally fair. Strength and durability, we both gave him a 3. I didn't see any problems there, although I didn't see him blow up plays. We talked about that
Yes.
when like other linebackers that we like. I mean, maybe it's just the bias of watching the tape. You like seeing linebackers who look like they're going to cause somebody's body to explode into a million pieces when they hit him,
Yeah.
right? And this guy, he wraps people very calmly and just takes them down. And the
Lets
biggest
them get
problem with
extra
him,
yards.
yeah, and they do like running backs and guys coming downhill on him. He'll hit him and he won't miss the tackle. He'll take him down, but they will drag him backwards and drag him forward, and he'll give up a few extra yards on the
He's not
tackle.
dislodging enough football. I wanted to give him a 4 strength because he's very stout. But like you said, like that type of stuff plays into it.
Instincts and IQ, interestingly, we both gave him a 4 because that stands out. Like he's got good instincts. He knows where the ball is going. He follows the play. For a guy, this to me is actually an elite grade in the context of he's relatively new to the position. He's got
Mm-hmm.
the feel for it. That might be NFL bloodlines. His dad was a linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Coverage grade, we both gave him a 3. He's solid in zone coverage. I think there's no
Yeah.
deficiencies there.
He's not going to be a plus guy for you, but he's not going to be a liability. As long
But
as you
will he
ask
be a
him to do
plus
the right
guy?
things.
Well, this is the other thing, right? Again, like he's played safety, right? And
Yeah.
he has the athleticism inside
Mm-hmm.
him. When he's more comfortable playing linebacker, will his coverage be more
That's
opened up, right?
that's a fair question.
Blitzing, there's not much there. I didn't see much in terms of pass rush. We both gave him a 2. I think he's a below average blitzer right now.
Mm-hmm.
And tackling, you gave him a 4. I gave him a 3. Technique is fine, but for the same reason, I think he gets driven backwards too much.
Yeah, he's just I had to give it to him because he doesn't miss tackles, man.
He's
But
technically sound. Yeah.
yeah, but I'll also say with like blitzing pressure, I considered giving him a 1, but I just don't see this guy as somebody who can't give you anything as a blitzing and pressure. Like I just can't see him being that guy.
And block shedding, we both gave him a 3. I mean, nothing
Mhm.
deficient really. So overall, he grades out average for us. Both of us have a solid 3 grade on him. As a, like average NFL linebacker. I think if we didn't know the background of his physical traits, the fact that he transitioned from safety, this is a guy who honestly is probably, if you look at him just objectively at the tape, he looks like a early day 3, late day 2 type linebacker, right?
Yep.
Maybe more like a day 3-ish type guy, but a solid guy.
Yeah, it's gonna get to the point in the draft where, you're not. I don't think you're excited about this guy as a early day 2 pick, but one day 3 comes around or the late pick in day 2, you're like, you know what? I'm getting a starter here. So I'm happy.
But again, he's very high on NFL teams' boards
Yep.
because
And
of the
that's not where I would have him.
he will not go day 3. It is barring a disastrous season. Sonny Styles is going to be probably the second highest or the third highest linebacker taken in this class, almost certainly. And barring a big shift in who rises. I mean, it's early, but we'll see. But I mean, I think
Yeah.
teams love the traits, man. You're 6'5", 240, and you have athleticism, and they're going to love him, especially when you're not like a liability out there. He's a solid tackler, solid player. They're going to like him.
Yeah, it's like we've been down on guys that the league are hiring on. We like at least claimed the league was hiring on. We've been right, but it's not guys who show good things that we just aren't our style. The guys who we just straight up suck, and that's not Sonny Styles.
Right. I think that's it. So let's get to number 5, and then we have one extra guy that we want to go over. So
Sure.
number 5 on this ranking, well, it's not really a ranking, but our fifth player here is literally the opposite of Sonny Styles.
Yes, quite literally.
Um, I mean, this guy, man. I mean, before we get into him, just like he is, you watch, if you want to have fun, watch Sonny Styles film first and then watch this guy's film. And you're gonna be like, what the hell? It's gonna be a shock to the system. Because they are very, very different players. So
Mhm.
the number 5 right on this current list, and there will be another linebacker again, is Anthony Hill, linebacker from Texas. He is 20 years old. Anthony Hill, he's a bigger dude. He's 6'3", 238. Um, like again, the opposite of everything about Styles, explosive. Like what jumps off the tape with him is he flies all over the field. He's an explosive player, quick downhill trigger. Like the ball snaps and he wants to get in the backfield immediately. It doesn't matter what the play is. He wants to get in the backfield immediately or chase something down. He does have incredibly good athleticism and range. He's a sideline to sideline guy. He will pursue guys and catch them from behind. He has flexibility, bend, body control. He can rush the passer from a D line setting, and he has the athleticism and ability to be good in coverage and zone. He can chase guys down, like I mentioned. He has the potential and the athleticism to do a lot. Um, the negatives, though, this is like the opposite of Styles. He is not a technically sound player. He's a
No.
little bit of a chaotic player. He can over pursue. He will create cutback lanes. He will have a lack of gap discipline. Um, he will get hit by a blocker and struggle to disengage. Sometimes he doesn't show the strength that you need to get off that first blocker and stack and shed. Um, Despite the fact that he has some of these great athletic traits in this wingspan, he doesn't really know how to use it. He doesn't use his length to keep blockers off him. He doesn't use his hands to fight
Mhm.
off guys. And for a guy his size, he doesn't play strong. He plays fast, and I think that's a negative. Um, Bottom line is his football instincts are not all there yet. And for a guy who has more experience at the position, it's a little bit more concerning. A guy like Styles, who hasn't played as much, has better instincts, much better instincts, actually. Um, so again, the bottom line with him is he's just an athletic freak, strong, fast, sideline to sideline range. I don't particularly see him as a reliable Mike linebacker right now. I think again another guy who's a will who
Yes.
if you can coach him up properly and you have some veterans who are really solid next to him, you
Mhm.
can see him developing into a very good player because he has that athletic ability and upside. But
Mhm.
right now, he is a project, and that's how
Yeah.
I look at him.
Yeah,
What about
I
you?
don't. Yeah, I don't understand why he's ranked so high in these lists. He's like seen as like a borderline first rounder right now. I get it from some points. I do get it. Like he is a big dude who runs around sideline to sideline. The second he sees like a lane open up where he can close a gap and make a play in a guy in the backfield, he does it. He closes it quick. He plays with really good, like you said, really good body control and bend. And he definitely flashes that ability of coverage. It's not there, but you see it in flashes. You can see it. But ultimately, I did not like him. I felt like he was a guy who was constantly overrunning guys, was struggling to disengage completely. Like he's one of those guys. Somebody gets hands on him, he's not getting off, and I saw that all the time. It does, and you said it frustrated me because it's a guy who has the length to keep a guy off him. He just doesn't do it. Like you don't even have to be that strong to just use your length to keep a guy off him, but he gets thrown around. I got you get a lineman on him. You 1-on-1, he's getting pushed anywhere that lineman wants to take him. And he doesn't necessarily. He plays like fast and he plays sideline to sideline, but he doesn't have that goon in him either, which I wish he did have a little bit more of that with his play style. But yeah, we can get into his grades, but I was not a fan of Anthony Hill. I see linebackers like this every year. They're so common. I mean, he's bigger than most of these guys. I'll give him credit. He's bigger than most of this prototype.
That's what sets them apart.
Yeah.
You know what who he completely reminds me of coming out of college a few years ago? And he's a guy who has struggled to hit at the NFL level. Do you remember Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was undersized compared to this guy who's 6 feet, 225. Same style, right? You loved like he's a highlight reel guy. Like you watch his YouTube highlights, you like the guy because on the highlight reels, his explosive play style, he's hitting guys, right? And you're like, oh wow, this guy's covering ground and he has range and he has instincts. But when you watch the game tape, he was wild and he would lose gap integrity and he was not reliable in the run game because he was not where he should be and he's just not strong enough to hold up and he can't finish tackles and he has struggled to find a role in the NFL and even though this guy is physically more imposing and more projectable because of traits, the play style is very similar. It's that same kind of, like you said, these guys come out every year and they're not instinctive and they're not controlled. They're not going to make it. They're not going to be trusted out on the field.
Yeah, he's going to be an RAS score guy, and like I said, but I see him every year, and I can find them day 3 every single year. And if you want to take a shot on a guy like this day 3, I'll go for it. I'm a big supporter of taking a bet on the guys of the size and the athleticism. But if you're trying to sell me on this guy day 1 or day 2, no thanks. No thanks.
Yeah, again, I think so this is what he has going for him. He's 20. He's young.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that depending on value, right, where you get him in the draft, let's see how he plays this year. It's early,
Yes,
right? He might put it
very,
together.
very, very true.
And he's young, very young.
Mm-hmm.
But
very
if he finishes the year similarly to how he finished last year as a player, where you don't see a ton of growth, and he's still a project. Again, this is a guy that I would take a swing on day 3 if I have my other position solidified and say I'm betting on the traits here. I'm going to get a good linebackers coach. I'm going to stick him next to some veterans and I'm going to work on his game, but I do not intend to start this guy. Like he's got to develop before he plays and he's young enough where I can do that. But right now he is a project. Let's go into his scores. So I'm sorry, I lost him for a second here. All right. So his athleticism and range. This is his big thing. We both gave him a 4. He is a very good athlete. His strength and durability. You gave him a 2. I gave him a 3. I gave him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But I could have given him a 2 here, honestly, also.
Yeah.
His football instincts. We both gave him a 2. It's lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Coverage ability, we gave him a 3. I think this kind of feeds from the athleticism and he's rangy.
It's mostly projection at this point, but I feel all right about 3.
Blitzing, he's pretty good. I think he's good getting in the backfield, so we gave him a 3. But he's not a good finisher. If he was, then he'd get a higher grade here.
He doesn't have pass rush chops at all.
He's just flying it. That's all. Tackling, he gets a 3 from both of us. I didn't see glaring deficiencies here.
As long as he didn't overrun him, he was pretty pissed off.
If he gets his hands on guys, he's taking him down. Right. Yeah. I think he's a good tackler that way. But tackling technique is not just getting your hands on guys, it's beating them.
For comparison, 0% missed tackle rate so far this year. So that's good. Really good.
Right.
But 18 last year. So
right. How many missed tackles because he completely missed the neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
and I think I got to see that. And I feel like I saw that in the Ohio State game. I want to go back and watch it again, but I'm pretty sure he ran by guys a couple of times.
I saw it a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, block shedding. you gave him a one. I gave him a two.
You
Brutal.
got you
It's
get
not
your
good.
hands on him, man. He's not doing anything. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to give you a good grade when I can't see you get off a guy.
You have him at a 2.57. I'm at 2.85. Both of us right now have him at a below average NFL level. And again, that's a day three projection.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a guy that I'm enamored with right now. But listen, he's a guy that's high on boards. He really is. And the reason is he's young, he's physically gifted, he's athletic. Teams want that. I don't know if you listened to Big Blue Banter, shout out Dan and Nick this week, talking about, the lack of range of our linebackers and how maybe it was last week when they were talking about, well, look at Green Bay, look at what they have in Edgerrin Cooper and the range he has, the athleticism, right? I think there is something to be said about that. When you have linebackers who can cover a lot of ground, they're such an asset. Um, so teams, I'm not comparing Edgerrin Cooper to this guy, but I'm saying the teams will value athleticism and range a lot. And if you're young and you've got the traits, they will push you up on those draft boards higher than maybe you and I think they should go. So I would take him day three. He's probably going to go day two. I'm telling you right now, he's almost certainly going day two.
He should go back to school. Is what you should do.
Let him play out this year, man. Like, let's see what happens. Monty was not a fan.
He
Not a
would take a
fan.
massive jump, in my opinion,
All right.
to come out this year and be our early pick.
I'm going to
Where
give
I
you
would take him.
I'm going to give you guys one bonus player here, because he wasn't on our original five. But shout out to our buddy Ask Seven, uh, who we know from Twitter. Good dude, big Ohio State fan. Said, "Hey, take a look at this guy. I know you're doing Sonny Styles. What do you think about Sonny Styles?" And I told him, I was like, "We like him. We don't love him. He's a little boring." He said, "I agree. Go look at his running mate. Tell me what you think."
Alex will be
And
happy.
and Alex will like this too.
Yeah, Alex
And
called it out before the show.
yep, he did. And I didn't want to spoil it for him, but I watched his running mate, number 8 on Ohio State, Arvell Reese, redshirt sophomore at Ohio State, playing next to Sonny Styles. And if you go back, if you watch, this is another thing. If you watch Sonny Styles' Ohio State tape, sound controlled, boring, but regular linebacker stuff. Watch the exact same tape and look at 8 next to him playing with a will, and you will see a whole different type of football player. Arvil Reese is that explosive athlete. He is 6'4", 238 pounds, a big boy, and he plays with an insane motor. Like that's I know Monty didn't get a chance to watch him yet. When you watch him,
No,
you'll
I
see.
mean I saw him when I watched I remember multiple times mixing up 8 and 0 and being like, "Ooh, I saw." Oh, that's not him. Never mind.
I'll put it this way. He is a problem. Arvil Reese is a problem. At his size, his speed, his explosiveness, and athleticism, he's playing next to a controlled person in Sunny Styles, and this guy is just flying all over the field. He is making tackles, blowing up plays. He is driving through guys. We said Sunny Styles doesn't drive through guys, right? He just tackles them, takes them down. They might get a couple extra yards. He's very controlled. Arvil Reese is hitting you with authority and trying to drive you into the next neighborhood. He's trying to take your helmet off with every hit. So he runs right through guys. He's a true, you know, run and hit type linebacker, and he has elite athletic traits on tape. Like you can see it. He's explosive. He's big. He's strong. He's fast. Um, he's more of a downhill guy than anything, but I saw him in some coverage snaps where he's able to run with guys, break up some passes. Like this guy has some traits here. I'm a little surprised he's not getting any love from the big boys like Brugler yet. But Reese is a guy that you got to watch, and I agree with Alex. He got that game record mentality here, where if you're playing next to a sound technician like Sonny Styles, this is the guy flying around the field who can blow up the game. And much like Harold Perkins benefits from having his running mate at LSU who's holding down the bag technically and he can fly around. Sonny Styles, very similar. He's a bigger guy, but same kind of thing where you can use him all over. You can use him as a blitzer. You can use him in coverage. He can fly around as a weak side linebacker. He's good in run fits. He's surprisingly good as a tackler and with instincts. Um, I didn't grade him out for everybody, but if I could do it real quick, if you guys want, um, you'll have to do the math for me. Um, I would give him for athleticism, I'd give him a 4. For strength, I'd give him a 4. For instincts, I'd give him a 3. For coverage, I'd give him a 3 for now. For blitzing, I'd give him a 4. For tackling, I'd give him 3.5. Block shedding, I'd give him like a 3.5. So he's gonna end up grading out as like a higher graded linebacker. It's a more limited sample than some of the other guys, but it's a name to watch, and he's not on the boards right now of Brugler and these guys. And quite frankly, he's young, and he may very well just go back to school after this year. But he's playing so well right now. I can see him climbing up boards and maybe considering declaring. He is pretty young. I mean, I think the guy's only like 20. Um, he is how old is this kid? Um, he just turned 20 like 2 weeks ago. He's young.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know what he kind of profiles like when I watched him? It's
Cool.
gonna be a big. This is going to be a big comp, but he profiles a lot like Tremaine Edmonds coming out of school.
Okay.
Remember him in college? I mean,
Young
he was
dude
that
too.
young freak athlete, big guy, rangy, explosive. Looks a lot like him. So w- again, he's not high on the big boards right now, but watch for Arvell Reese. I wanted to throw that in there because I think he's going to grade out in the end higher than some of the guys we went over today. He's not a true Mike yet. I don't think he's disciplined enough to be a Mike at this point, but he's young. And I think if he stayed another year in college and Styles graduated, he probably would slide over to the Mike role and they'd see what he can do. But if he declares and you want to take him, he's got tremendous upside. So that's the sixth extra guy that we throw in there.
There you go.
All right, so that's our linebacker episode. I think I mean, I think overall it's a pretty good class. What do you think?
Yeah, so far I'm really happy with what I saw. I think a lot more true linebackers than I've seen in years past.
I think so too. And I think there's a good variety of players too. We saw some
Mhm.
guys who can definitely play the mic, some guys who are more wills, but some young players here too. I mean, some of these guys are still developing, and I think they can become better players as the year goes on and are projectable. And because of what they are, they might project day 2, day 3. Depends on where you want to get them. This is not a bad year to have some extra draft picks too. I always say that, but if you're looking to fill up your linebacker room and you had some extra picks on day 3, this would be a good year to have that. We don't have our third round pick this year. That's going to sting a little bit, come draft time, depending on how the whole board shakes out. But like we started this episode saying, the Giants have a serious linebacker problem today. It's only going to get worse after the season because you're looking at Okereke probably being gone. We don't know what McFadden's injury is going to lead him to being. I don't know how much you're going to be able to rely on him next year, and he's going to be a free agent after this year. I imagine he's going to come back, but we don't know that right now. And we have nobody behind them except Darius Musa. So the Giants are going to need to add probably 3 guys to this room in the offseason. And I would imagine 2 of them will be free agents, one in the draft, or it might be one free agent and 2 in the draft. I don't know. But
Mhm.
it's looking like a pretty decent linebacker class at the very minimum. So that should help filling out the room for the future.
Yeah, I hope they get at least two guys that they're comfortable starting going into the year because I don't like having to I would like to get a guy through the draft, but I don't want to have to force that either. We've mentioned for some of the, especially for the interior line, we mentioned some of the guys that we liked in free agency. One name I'll call out, I know was a guy that both you and I liked in the draft process years ago, 2022. Leo Chenal is going to be a free agent. Kansas City has paid a lot of guys. I don't know if they'll be able to pay Leo Chenal. He's a guy who I think is a really good player. He's coming from a winning program, and I think that's the Giants need more of that.
I would love to get Leo Chanel. I think a lot of us here wanted Leo Chanel in that
A
2022 draft,
lot of
and we're
Giants
shocked.
fans did.
And we were all shocked that he fell as far as he did in the draft. And of course, he got scooped up by the Chiefs and immediately became an outstanding football player, on the NFL level. So he's going to get paid. He's going to be probably the highest paid linebacker this cycle. I don't know what that's going to translate to money wise, but it's not cheap. Is he an elite linebacker? That's a question, right? Is he going to get paid like an elite linebacker? I don't view him as an elite linebacker, but he's a good one. So well, I mean, where do you see him landing? And like Roquan is making like 20 million a year. Edmonds is making like 18 or something or 19 a year. Where do you see Leo Chanel landing?
I think somewhere around like 12 to 14.
All right, so you don't view him as like this elite linebacker territory of pain.
And I think linebackers typically come in cheaper. No, I don't think he's elite.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's get into some games for these guys to watch for this week. Not much on Thursday. It's just Rice, Charlotte. Friday night, there's an interesting game for those who are local to the Jersey area. Iowa at Rutgers, Big Ten matchup. Um, but there's a couple of good ones on Saturday, Monty. Texas Tech and Utah, both ranked teams, 17 and 16, respectively. That's a 12 o'clock game on Fox. Um,
Mm-hmm.
another interesting game, grudge match, Oregon State at 3 o'clock if you care about that. But the best 3 o'clock game, 3:30 game is number 22 Auburn at number 11 Oklahoma
Yeah,
with
that's a big one.
Heisman frontrunner John Mateer on that team. If you guys have not seen John Mateer play football yet, either get in front of your TV at 3:30 or record that game somehow because John Mateer is must see TV right now.
I agree. That's the game to watch. But another one that should be interesting too is Michigan, Nebraska at 3:30. Dylan Raiola suddenly seems to be the best out of that 2027 QB group we've been talking about. Everybody's kind of DJ Lagway's looked terrible. And then Michigan's Michigan. They have the young kid
Bryce Underwood.
Underwood. So two of
Yeah.
the good young quarterback in college football. That should be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, he won't be eligible until the 2028 NFL draft.
Yep.
He's a true freshman, but my God, that kid, he's like easily 6'5", 235 already at 18 or 19 years of age. I mean, that he's a physical freak, and he's actually a pretty good quarterback. He's a good passer with ridiculous traits. He's worth watching. Um, Purdue Notre Dame is a good game. Notre Dame needs to get a win. They're 0-2. They're ranked 24 right now. They started in the top 10. I'm sorry, 1T. And I'm trying to see Illinois, Indiana is a good one too. Number
19
nine,
wins.
Illinois, yeah, 9 and 19. So number 9, Illinois, Indiana. Kirk Signetti, not the nicest guy in the world, but a very good coach.
Mm-hmm.
JMU coach who went to Indiana, really raised up that program last year. Curtis Rourke had a good year with him, and now he's got. I'm going to say his name correctly this time. Fernando Mendoza, right?
I think so.
Okay. The quarterback prospect, the transfer from Cal, who's having a good year under Signetti. It's a good game. And of course, Florida, Miami is always fun to watch, although Florida's not very good. But listen, Florida is fun to watch in the sense that they have one of the better young QB prospects, not having a good year so far, in DJ Lagway, but still a talented young man. And then Miami is number 4 in the country. And don't look now. Carson Beck is tearing it up, man. He is making a case to get back into discussions as a first-round quarterback.
Yeah.
He's doing that Cam Ward thing at Miami.
Especially with how bad this quarterback class has looked. Another one I'd call out is Arizona State at Baylor. That's only a 2.5-point line. Baylor's actually the favorite, but Arizona State has a really interesting roster. Sam Levitt is an interesting quarterback prospect. Jordan Tyson is quickly becoming the top wide receiver prospect in the country this year. So, that should be an interesting one.
Yep. And before we close out, I wanted to make sure we gave a special shout out to the victors of the annual Backyard Brawl. Played out last week. Monty was too drunk to celebrate with anybody but himself. But he did send out his annual tweet, and you can say it out for the crowd.
Eat shit pit, boy.
Eat shit pit. The West Virginia Mountaineers defeated the Pittsburgh Panthers 31-24 in overtime. A thrilling victory, but a win is a win. Congratulations to the WVU Mountaineers.
I was surprised they came out with that. I was screaming for them to go for 2. I didn't think we'd come out with it if we went to overtime, but we did it.
All right. We'll close it on that one. You got any other closing thoughts before we lock this up?
Let's go beat the Chiefs.
We have to win this football game. Like, they don't have a choice. They
Nope.
cannot be allowed on the plane actually, they're in New York. They can't be allowed back in the locker room. If they lose this game, they should lock them out. Win the damn game. The Chiefs are beatable. I don't care how good the Chiefs have been in the past. They need to find a way to win this football game. Let's make a score prediction and close this sucker out. What is your final score prediction for Sunday Night Football?
Let's go ahead and win this thing 27-23.
I got us. I got the Giants 27-20. With that, remember to follow me at Queens_guy. Follow Monty at MONTECRI5TO. Follow us at He's a Giant Pod. Please like before you close this thing out. Subscribe, share it with your friends. Let us know how we're doing. You can all reach us on Twitter/X with any comments, any thoughts. We will be back next Wednesday with our next position group. We have not selected that group yet, but we'll try to keep it up to date. And this year, we're going to try to get through all 11 groups in 11 weeks so we have time to do some reviews and other things. Until we see you guys next time, have a great week. Go Giants.
Go Giants.